So you're looking to sell your business and you've been approached by a buyer who's given you what looks like a great deal, and you've got a certain amount of initial consideration, so you've got a certain payout up front, and then you have an amount of deferred consideration, so essentially money that doesn't come to you on completion but comes to you at a later date. It might be 3 months, it might be a year, it might be 3 years, and it might be dependent on certain things. In uncertain markets, we're seeing a lot more of this, and it's a lot more of a common way to structure payment with these types of M&A transactions now. So when you are approached with that, don't be surprised. It is very, very common, but that doesn't mean that you can't take steps to make sure that your financial interests are protected, because at the end of the day, what you could be doing is selling your company and only selling it really for the initial consideration, because the amount that's due to come afterwards, for whatever reason, doesn't come to you. Some of the common pitfalls that you want to think about with an earnout is where things are linked to performance metrics. So if the buyer has set certain revenue or profit goals, and you know from your experience running the business that those are unlikely to be met, well then you could essentially be saying that you're just accepting that you will not receive that portion of the consideration for selling your business. So that's very important to bear in mind. What you want to make sure is that any performance metrics that are linked to your payout are in line with what you know from your history and your experience of running the business are appropriate and likely to be achieved. You don't want to be set these massive, really difficult targets and your payout of the business being dependent on them. You also want to think about having an appropriate percentage. You don't want it to be the case that you get 20% of your money up front and 80% is linked to deferred consideration. That essentially means you could walk away for whatever reason with only 20% of the value of your business. That's not great for anyone, except the buyer. And then we want to think about some other ways that we can secure that consideration. So if you do meet your certain targets, whether that is providing a 3-month handover or just time, so say 20% of the price of the business will be paid to you after a year, you want to make sure you have some security there. So is there a personal guarantee from a director of the buyer that you will get paid when you're owed it? Or is there some sort of other security? Is there a share pledge? Is there a floating charge over the company? Is there some sort of security you can enforce to ensure that you will get paid out when you are due to get paid out? When you take legal advice in selling your business, these are some of the key things that you want to be asking. If you want to have a chat to me about that, feel free to drop me a line. You can comment below this video or send me a direct message. We can have a chat about some of the ways that maybe a deal you've been proposed with can be changed so that it's nice and protective of your position, and so that it works for both parties. It has to be commercial. Going for 100% of consideration up front is unlikely to fly most of the time, but if you're going to defer some of it, you want to make sure, really sure, that you have security that you can enforce if something goes wrong.